Hey, everybody. Welcome to You Have to Watch This podcast. I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And today we are talking about the newly released DC film directed and written by James Gunn, The Suicide Squad, starring Idris Elba, Margot Robbie, John Cena, and a giant shark. So we're going to do this spoiler-free for I think I said the first 15 minutes. So we're on the clock now. Overall, what did you guys think of The Suicide Squad? Well, how did
Devin,
you watch it? I know I watched it on HBO Max. I wanted to go to the cinemas, but I held off. How did you guys watch it?
Devin, do you want to
Ryan?
go first?
I watched it on HBO Max too. It was so disappointing. I was going to go to cinemas and I didn't. I just watched it on HBO Max.
See, I thought you went to the movies just to see
No,
this.
I really wanted to, and it just didn't happen that day. I sat at my kitchen table on this laptop and watched it in the saddest possible way. Just thinking about how I could have been in a nice seat with some popcorn.
You're the reason James Gunn went to gray hair.
Listen, I feel like that's the way that James Gunn intended this movie to be watched. Sad and at your kitchen table.
That fits.
Ryan, how about you?
How did you watch it?
What was your setup, Ryan?
I watched it on my Xbox. I watched it on Max. And it worked. I watched it late at night, so I couldn't really turn up any of my subs or anything. So I recently bought I said screw the wireless controller, and I went back to a cord for the Xbox. So perfect audio through my headphones for once.
Nice.
Which was great because my gaming headphones worked perfectly for it. So
That's nice.
So for HBO, I watched it on HBO Max as well.
Mm-hmm.
They released it at 7:00 Thursday night on HBO Max. So instead of going to the theaters at 7, you could go home and watch it. So that's what I did. I stopped. I got a big thing of gummies because that's my movie ritual, is just eating gummies and watching movies. I had my dinner with me. I had a big bowl of cheddar popcorn that I bought from the Amish store. And I sat down. I watched it. I kicked the wife out of the living room, shut the doors, turned up the sound system. I had my own private theater for my first viewing of The Suicide Squad. And then I watched it immediately the next day at work on my projector screen there with the headphones in. So, 3 different ways of watching it. What did you guys think of The Suicide Squad in general?
You want to go, Ryan?
yeah, sure, I'll go. I feel like this is what the first one should have been.
Okay.
Like the feeling of it, what happens in it. I think this is more or less what I was kind of expecting the first one to be, and I enjoyed it. So
I'll go into this more later when we get into spoilers, but I wasn't ready for this movie at all. There was a lot of times I was sitting there going, what? What? Like in like the best possible way. I feel like, again, without going into spoilers, I feel like James Gunn found why this is a popular like comic book series or like group of people and portrayed it as best as that he ever could. I think that this is Suicide, like the Suicide Squad movie. This is why people like the comics. I really enjoyed the movie. I was actually asked earlier today if I would recommend it, and I said yes. And like it was a room full of like people that hate DC, and I was like, no, you should really give this a shot.
Yeah, it does a good job of paying tribute to the first Suicide Squad film, with bringing back Margot Robbie, Joel Kinnaman, and Jai Courtney, because they're the only 3 of the team members that carry over. Then you have Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, and she's even more evil than before, which I think is great. The film has such a great team dynamic, and I think where this one benefits from, like, this one excels compared to the other one, is the chemistry. Like, you can really feel the relation, like the when you introduce Bloodsport, you know what his dynamic is with Peacemaker, with Ratcatcher, and then
Easy
with
Ratcatcher 2.
Ratcatcher 2. Sorry.
It's
And
important.
then with the other characters too, when you bring in Margot Robbie or Harley Quinn and Rick Flag, you see how he plays with all of them. So like he does a really good job of establishing the relationships very easily. This movie is insane, and I loved every single minute of it, to the point where I watched it twice in the first 24 hours.
And that's it too. Is like I gave the movie a bit of a soft sell to the group of people that didn't like DC, but like I would 100% watch this again with any one of them. Like sit down and like be like, look, this is why I like this movie for a lot of really good reasons. I think that you're right, Alan. It's more of a person. It's more of like a character driven film than the first one was, and I feel like it understood the characters that it was using more than the first one did.
Yeah, and I'll say this, like my wife didn't watch it with me. The thing I told her right away after watching this was James Gunn, his script nails Harley Quinn's character perfectly.
Yes.
Whereas Birds of Prey was a very solid film, and we should have done it for the show if you guys haven't seen it. I recommend Birds of Prey. But the first Suicide Squad, it still relied so much on the Joker Harley dynamic, whereas in this one, she's her own character. We'll get into spoilers later, but the way that he wrote her, and then Margot Robbie's performance, like 3 movies in, like she is the perfect Harley Quinn. And if they ever recast for any reason, I'm going to be upset. Like she is to Harley Quinn now what Mark Hamill is to the Joker for me.
Oh,
and
I agree.
I think a lot of that is because of this movie.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, you could tell that like she's having like the same kinds of fun, or was allowed to have the same kinds of fun that she was in the Harley Quinn movie, because they got the character right. It seems like this is what happened right after that movie, basically, and not just like, oh look, a new interpretation of her. Got it.
Yeah.
Ryan, have you seen Birds of Prey?
No.
Okay.
Oh.
And
Boy.
here we did a Amy Schumer movie last week.
Well, let's get to the non-spoiler stuff, so I can kind of talk about the 2 things that I kind of didn't like about the film,
Okay.
and then you can decide if I should watch Birds of Prey.
Okay.
Are the 2 things you didn't like spoilery?
That kind of has to do with the way either the characters were portrayed, written. I don't know, and I need to talk to you guys about it to iron that out.
Okay, so we should get into spoilers for that then.
Okay, so we're going into spoilers?
No. We still got 6 minutes. Okay,
Yeah,
well,
we still have
6 minutes,
before we
okay.
get into that, Ryan, I know you're gonna have some issues. Was there any character in this film that stood out to you like as your favorite? Like, was there anyone who stood
There's
out
actually a
above?
couple.
Okay.
I loved Bloodsport. I thought his character.
Oh, yeah.
Most of these people, except for maybe like 1 or 2 of them, and I'm not talking about like, not Harley Quinn, not Flag, not Bloodsport. I've heard of them, but like Polka Dot Man, I've very faintly, have heard of. I really like that character, and I'll get into a little joke that I saw on the internet about him that I really like. And I just, like almost all of the side characters. I loved everybody almost in this. And again, Devin, it's just like you said, off of what Alan was saying, so making a chain here. You got this film, which is a lot more character driven than what the first one was, and that's kind of what I thought the first Suicide Squad movie was going to be. But it ended up just being like, oh look, an action film with villains portraying the heroes, yay, and like that was it, with like a few funny and it had some one-liners, but. This one, everybody on the screen had character development. Except for one, whose mental capacity I don't think could have handled development. So,
So I want to challenge that. I think I know what you're talking about, and we'll talk about that in spoilers. But I think part of it is that like the director, whoever it was for the original Suicide Squad movie, said like, "Oh, they took my great drama piece and bashed a comedy into it." Like the original Suicide Squad script wasn't supposed to be a comedy. It wasn't supposed to be fun. I think it was supposed to be like a deep and emotional drama about like misfits coming together.
I
Which,
mean,
like,
if you look at his other work, it makes sense. There's been a big movement for the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad now. And some of the cast members of this film have spoken out and like, yeah, I mean, he did it. Like, I think you should be able to see his vision. I don't know if it's going to happen. I will say that David Ayer did get a thanks in the credits for this film. So there's no bad blood between him and James Gunn going into this. But I would definitely want to see, because what happened with the first Suicide Squad is that trailer with Bohemian Rhapsody went. So we talked about this on the Suicide Squad episode.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But that trailer went so well, and the studio was so worried about what the film was going to be, that they just handed the whole film to the company that made that trailer. And it's like, here, make a movie. And that's not how you, like, ideally, that's not how you make a movie if your director has a vision for it.
Yeah.
If your director just walks away, like, I don't know, Bryan Singer, then you can do it that way. But, yeah, I'm dropping names.
Do it.
But, yeah.
So that leads me to something that I wanted to ask you guys, because the first one, you're right, they had that really great trailer that led directly into the Suicide Squad and kind of set the tone for what the movie was going to be. And I feel like the original Suicide Squad kind of, like you said, used that trailer as a jumping off point, you know, kind of musically. How did you guys think the music in this fit with it?
I knew from based on my history with James Gunn films and their soundtracks, having owning both Guardians 1 and 2 on vinyl.
Fair.
I was looking forward to a banger soundtrack, and I think it delivered. Because unlike Guardians, you're not stuck with like the 70s. You were able to play around a little bit more. As soon as I heard Johnny Cash in the opening credits, like the opening titles, I was like, okay, this makes perfect sense for what this film is going to be.
Ryan, what did you think?
Perfect sense for what this film was going to be by the lyrics of the song, or the fact that it was just Johnny Cash?
The tone, I think.
The tone, like just like you open up on these prisoners and you're hearing Folsom Prison Blues. It's like, okay, like yeah, like I love the soundtrack to this film, but Johnny Cash was like, okay, yeah, I'm already on board for this soundtrack, and it didn't disappoint from there. So
I wasn't entirely on board with the soundtrack. It was good songs. Putting that out there. Good music. But I wasn't totally on board with the whole music side of things until they started playing music that was made post-millennium. So once that happened, I'm like, okay, good. At least there's a mix of different types of songs in here. It's not, just everything that was made post-1999. So
then you missed my
I was happy about that.
You missed my favorite musical moment then.
No. I heard it. Like I said, the songs were good. I was just happy to hear some more modern stuff in there.
Yeah.
The Idris, like maybe 20 minutes into the movie, and this isn't a spoiler, Idris Elba's cleaning the floor to a Decemberist song, and that one came out around 2010.
Yeah.
But like that was when I was like, okay, they got the Decemberists in here. Now I'm happy.
Was there a musical moment that stood out to you guys? Or I guess that'd be a spoiler question. I'm trying to think of other questions we can get to with that aren't spoilers. I got a spoiler-free question.
Yeah.
Since we've been talking a lot about the first Suicide Squad, do you think this film would have benefited from Jared Leto's Joker?
Ryan, do you want to go?
I'll tell you my answer. No, he doesn't need to be in this film, and I'm glad he's not.
I'm definitely with Alan, but I want to turn this into a spoiler question once we get there.
Okay.
And I'm gonna ask the question now. The question doesn't spoil anything, but I want you guys to be able to think about it.
Okay.
If the Joker, if his Joker had to be in this for like 5 seconds, at what point would you want him to show up without changing anything about the film?
I know the exact answer.
Okay.
I got it queued up.
Okay.
I know
Okay.
it. So literally in the middle of this movie, I was thinking about how much I like Harley Quinn as a character without the Joker and hate her in the context of the Joker so much. Mostly because I can't stand those couples that are like, well, I describe our relationship as a Joker Harley Quinn relationship. Stop it, shut up, get a new relationship. I hate it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't enjoy that ever, I think.
My thing is that I really feel that watching the Harley Quinn show really kind of prepped me for this, because other than seeing a few of the episodes where Harley Quinn is in the Batman animated series, I don't really know Harley Quinn outside of having some type of tug-of-war with the Joker
Yeah.
Yeah.
over an
No.
extended period storyline. And that's what I liked about... And that's what I liked, the fact that I saw the Harley Quinn show before watching the movie, because it got me prepped for that.
So I'm going to go on out a limb here and ask a weird question that I just thought about. Does DC write better women than Marvel? Because with Harley Quinn, I think kind of. I mean, Wonder Woman's also a well-written character. Let's ignore 84.
Well, so you're talking about in the films, right?
Yes. Yeah, I
Okay.
can't speak to the comics at all. I'm just talking what's on film.
Okay, so I think what DC has benefiting for them, like what they have on their side, is the fact that they take each film and dedicate it to more character-driven stuff than story. Where Marvel is like, okay, we're gonna put Captain Marvel in this, but we have to have this, this, and this happen so we can get to this.
Yeah.
And there's not that when you do that, there's not as much time to dive into characters as much. They do dive into the female characters, but then you get that shot in Endgame that gets ridiculed a lot, where it's just like all of the women going at once. It's like, yeah, you didn't really earn that though. Like none of them really know each other. They don't have a relationship. It's just in the battle, like all of them going. It's a cool shot, but you didn't really earn it. But like the Mandalorian, like in that season finale where they have all the women down the hallway,
Yeah.
like they earned that. But DC, I think because they were able to take the time and not worry about the overarching story of getting the Suicide Squad to connect to the Flash and the Batman, and like because they're all in their own little worlds, I think film wise, possibly they might write better women.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only possible counterpoint I can think of is WandaVision. Because that was
But
a
there,
really
but
good
there
one.
you have, what was it, 8 episodes to dive into Wanda's character.
Right. Fair. And not just one movie.
And not just one movie. I mean, James Gunn did a good job with Gamora and Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy, like diving into their characters. And I actually rewatched those before I watched the Suicide Squad as well.
You were ready.
Well, my niece was on a kick where she kept singing "Come and Get Your Love." I don't know why, but I was like, "Oh, that's in a movie." And I showed her the clip of Chris Pratt dancing to it in the first one, and she's like, "Okay, I want to watch that." And she was coming over to my house the next night, so I put in the first one and she liked it, and then I put in the second one and she loved it. So,
Aww.
but
I don't know, what do you think about the women characters, Ryan?
What about the whole difference between DC and
Yeah,
Marvel?
do you think DC writes better women characters or female characters?
I don't see. To me, that's I can't look at it as DC writes it better than Marvel or Marvel does it this way, because like it comes down to the writers, the script, and then
Sure.
and then you've got the studios getting their hands in it and then hiring somebody else to rewrite what was already written and then doing that again 5 times before you come out with the actual script. So to me, it's more or less which movies had the better writing process, because you've got that balance between character development and storytelling. And where Alan said, where the difference between DC is more character driven, and then you've got Marvel, which is more like we have to connect all this stuff into one giant storyline. So it's that balancing act of like if you dedicate the time to character development, you're going to have better written characters, especially written women, compared to Marvel, which is balancing on the other end of the scale a little bit more, trying to make sure that everything connects storyline wise, and not really having the time to deep dive into things in film, like actual movies.
Well, and the other thing is, like, Marvel's getting better at it. Like, you brought up WandaVision. I think Marvel is aware that Marvel had a lot of issues there around Age of Ultron with how things were going behind the scenes creatively.
Oh, sure.
And I think they're getting better. Like, if you look at the Dora Milaje in Black Panther and WandaVision and even in Loki, you look at Sylvie's character, I think they're definitely improving. And it's easier to judge DC based on the handful of films that they have compared to the bushel of films that Marvel has.
Yeah.
What good comparison units?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you also have the fact that the Marvel films span more than 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you've got changing thoughts, changing dynamics, people, starting to realize things that have been overshadowed in the past and are trying to fix it. So you've got a lot. It's easier to point at Marvel and say, you guys were horrible in Ultron when it came to this, but they've gotten better since then. Where in DC, you don't really have that point. Because, when did Ultron come out?
2015.
2000.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I was going to say.
I'm not even talking about just Age of Ultron, the film. I'm talking about that period. They had some issues behind the scenes where the studio, Kevin Feige wasn't in complete control. So he was arguing with heads and trying to get other stories not being told. And
yeah, but what I mean is like with the Snyder Cut, you've got certain shots that were done that are like, do you really need to put the camera there? Do they really need to fall on each other like that? And that's where Age of Ultron had a few of those moments where
we can talk about Joss Whedon all we want. Like that. Like, maybe that was the issue with the Marvel movies up until this point was Joss Whedon, because he was the issue with those Justice League shots that you're talking about. Like that the theatrical Justice League. Like that's the problem, and I think there's a lot less Joss Whedons and more James Gunn's. Like James Gunn didn't do any of those shots really in Guardians of the Galaxy.
No.
So, all right, I think we're good to get into spoilers now.
Okay, good.
So, that being said, if you've not seen the Suicide Squad yet, I think we all highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Ryan's not so high as Devin and I, but
I'm up there.
If you like comic books and you like superheroes, go for it.
Yeah.
This one I'm saying.
So go check that out. If you don't care about spoilers, stick around because we're going to get right into this. And my first question is,
sorry, chat got me.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know what it means, but I love it. Whatever you did, thanks.
So, this film does not stray away from killing main characters from the beginning.
Wow.
Did you guys expect that bloodbath in the first 15 minutes of the film?
No. Ryan, did you?
I wasn't expecting it, but probably about halfway to getting to it, I kind of was anticipating something horrible happening. So
no, I wasn't ready at all. The second Pete Davidson's face blew off his body, I went, is he not in this movie anymore?
I actually said under my breath, thank God. I actually said under I'm sorry, but I'm not a fan of him, and I'm like, oh my God, I really hope he's not in this movie that long. And then that happened, and I was like, oh my God, thank you. And then it said, like, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I knew he wasn't going to be in it that long because he was filming SNL at the time when he got the gig. So he was only down there for like a week. It's like, okay, so he's not going to be in it long. All right. I did not know that it was going to be to the degree that it was, with killing off most of the characters that are in most of the marketing material. Not the post that we have posted here. But Nathan Fillion dies right away. Jai Courtney's Captain Boomerang's gone. Was there anyone in that group that died right away that you wanted to see more of that you didn't get
the first one they introduced?
Michael Rooker's Savant?
Oh,
yeah, because, I mean, I thought the X's on the cell and the fact that it didn't have a roof on his cell, I found that to be very interesting. And again, I don't know any of these characters. Like, this is all new to me. And, yes?
I don't think that was his cell. I think he was on reset. Like, he was out in the courtyard. That's why.
Well, there wasn't anything that said courtyard, and the fact that it's a comic book movie, I figured, oh, look, there's no roof. He must need the sun. He probably breathes through his skin. Well, that's what I was thinking. I was like, okay.
No, when Waller comes out, he's like, I still got 15. Because he
I thought he meant 15 years. And then she said 10 or 5 or whatever. Or I can cut it down to, I can take 10 off. Like, okay. I thought he was talking about, but like, they showed that he kills the bird, and they use him as a way to kind of like meet everybody and, to kind of like show you what's going on. And with using him to show how the implant works, I was disappointed. I was like, I want to know more about this guy. Why are you following him? And then you kill him off? So, but it made up for it later on.
I mean, I think it was to set up how ruthless Waller is, though. Hey, here's this point of view character. You watch her personally recruit him not 10 minutes ago. Hey, watch her kill him off now, and the fact that she will just do that.
And they kind of made me like her better. Like, towards the end of the movie, I started liking her character, because she was really starting to get under my skin. Really under my skin.
So I think the whole thing with killing Savant that way, like, and introducing everything that you see in that opening montage with him, is just a way to catch up the audience to where we are in this world. Like, didn't see the first Suicide Squad? Okay, here's what's going on. You get an implant in the back of your neck. I can blow you up. You do this mission, you get 5 years off your sentence. So they use him as like a analog for the audience, like a stand-in for the audience watching. And then when you have all that bloodbath on the beach, he's like, "Oh hell no!" and like swims away. Like, that's when it's like, okay, that now we're getting into the thick of it.
Yeah, and that's what I meant. Like later on, I was more or less okay with it, because I kind of like, okay, because I was like, okay, the characters they are giving me, I'm interested in. And so that's where I was like, okay, well, that's probably why they were doing what they were doing, is at the beginning. But I found his ability to be interesting with the bouncy ball, and I wanted to see what the actual, like, use of that would have been in battle. But no, he, like, swims out, wants to, reenact dying after the Titanic sank or something. I don't know.
Devin, how about you?
Is there a character I wish I saw more of?
Yes.
Oh, TDK. 100% TDK.
The detachable kid.
The detachable kid. I love that his power was so underwhelming. They're like, use him. And he's just like limp-wristedly slapping. More, please. That's amazing.
I feel like the ability was more of like a shock thing to his enemies. Like, it's more like, oh my god, a floating arm is hitting me, more than it does any damage. Like, it's just a distraction. But for me, when that happened, the only thing I could think of were those old Crash Dummy toys in like the 90s, where like, it's like you'd hit the button and the arms would pop off. Like, that's the only, because like when his arm came off, there was the little bone in the ball, and it looked like the toy, those Crash Dummy those Crash Dummy toys.
Really,
that's the first thing I thought of.
What about you, Alan? Who would you like to have seen more of?
I wanted to see Weasel in action.
No.
I wanted to see him do something. Like, I just wanted to see him I just want to see Pop Goes the Weasel. Like, I just wanted to see him like do something But I love what they used him for. Like, he just dies jumping out of the plane. Like, did anyone check to see if Weasel could swim? Like, I absolutely love that joke.
I mean, I think he'll be in the sequel, so that's nice.
He
Yeah.
better be.
Um,
I really want to see him rip into someone.
yeah.
I don't. I think he's creepy. I really think he's like the
That's why I
creepiest designed character.
But the thing is, though, I think that's purposeful, and that's what makes his scene in the prison so hysterical when he's licking the window, because
Yeah.
he does look so creepy, and then you see him doing something so mundane and stupid, and then he sees that he's being stared at, and he just stops. Just
Fun fact about Weasel, played by Sean Gunn, who you'll know from Gilmore Girls, Ryan. It's Kirk.
Hang on a second. So you mean Kirk plays two people in this?
Yes, he plays Weasel.
And then he plays that guy with the tattoo on his forehead that's yelling. He's the one that's making fun of the polka dot man in prison.
You know
Yeah.
you know who that character was?
I have no idea who that was.
Devin, did you catch who that character was? That
Wasn't
Sean
Calendar
Gunn's-
Man, was it?
Calendar Man, yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
Calendar
so-
Man.
What does? Oh, hang on a second. So you mean Calendar Man was making fun of polka dot man? That's
Yes.
funny.
Yes.
That's funny. Okay.
Two of the dumbest villains making fun of each other.
But
and the fact that
no, Calendar Man's pretty cool. Like, if you play the Arkham games, he's got some cool things going on, and he has a cool storyline in the Long Halloween. I think he plays a part in.
Oh, interesting.
But Calendar Man's pretty cool. Polka Dot Man sounds ridiculous, but the most ridiculous supervillain was not in this movie, and that is Condiment King.
Is that a real supervillain?
That is a
Condiment
real
King?
supervillain.
we've been over this before. Yeah.
I never believe it. I never do.
Okay, so
So hold on. I have a big spoiler that I need to tell you guys about because this made me like the movie infinitely more than anything else.
okay,
Guys, DC made up another location. This wasn't like Costa Rica or like Philadelphia. This is my big problem with DC is they have like Metropolis and Gotham City and Philadelphia and also Pittsburgh. And they actually made up an island for this. Guys, they tried.
They did not make it up for this.
No, they made it up for Arrow, but it's
No,
also...
no, they did not make
I
it
thought
up
it was
for
Arrow.
No.
Oh, no?
This goes back. Culture Maltese goes back to Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns.
Really?
It's mentioned in that, and then in the Tim Burton Batman, when Bruce Wayne meets Vicky Vale, he says, "Oh, I'm familiar. I saw your photos from Culture Maltese." So,
Oh.
okay. It's been an established location for over 30 years now.
Good.
So it's not something that they pulled from like the CW Arrowverse. It's something that's been established in DC lore for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make it better for you?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
This is on the same level now as like Gotham City or as like Metropolis. Like they came up with an island-sounding name and they made an island, and good for them.
Yeah.
It didn't take place like on Cuba or something.
Which is
Good
pretty
job,
much what I
DC.
just assumed what that was like a stand-in for.
I mean, honestly, probably in the same
I
way
j-
that like Metropolis is a stand-in for New York City or Jersey City, I guess.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a bit about the main characters that survive that opening montage. So we have Bloodsport, Harley Quinn, who we've talked a bit about, Polka Dot Man, Rick Flag, Peacemaker, Ratcatcher 2, and King Shark.
Oh boy.
Who are you guys? Okay, Ryan, you said you had an issue with some of them. Let's dive into that.
Yeah. I want to hear.
Okay. Peacemaker.
Okay. I'm glad we're talking about Peacemaker right off the bat.
Yep.
Okay. I like the chemistry he had with Bloodsport.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's the way the character is written. I don't know if it was the way John Cena was acting. But I literally did not laugh at any of his lines. I like the relationship with Bloodsport. I like that whole thing. But the whole, like, banter back and forth when they were going through that freedom fighter camp. Like, I found him funnier on the 2-minute clip I saw of him on a Late Show with Marco Robbie with the cardboard cutout thing that's been on Facebook for the past 2 days. I found him funnier in that, in the 2-minute clip that I saw, than I found him funny at all in this movie. So I'm thinking it has to do with the way that the character is, the way it's written. I don't know. I don't think it's him, though, but I want to...
Comedically, he's not given a lot to... He's not given a lot joke-wise. Like, there's 2 moments that come into mind that are, or 3 moments, I guess, that are jokes with Peacemaker. It's the opening, their meeting where they're getting the mission briefing, and he's like, "Starfish is also slang for butthole. Could that be any any significance here?" And then there's the middle of the night when King Shark almost eats Ratcatcher 2, and he's just standing there in his underwear, and they're like, "Why are you in your underwear?" And then the only line that I could think of that was played for jokes was, "Nobody likes to show off." Yeah, they do when the guy showing off does something really fucking awesome.
I mean, fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think that, like, that's the only line of his that I don't think he's supposed to be likable. I think he's the jock that you're not supposed to like because he's an anti-hero, and I don't think you're supposed to like him, especially when you get to the end of the film. I really don't think you're supposed to really like him as a character.
Okay, well, I'll put it to you this way. At the end, at the very, very end, when they, do the reveal that, I guess it's the post-scene credit or after-scene credit, or scene whatever, where they go and they're like, we need him to save the world. Like, if the next movie has him as another main character, I'm not going to be interested in it.
Boy, do I have news for you.
Oh no, Ryan. Oh no.
So I mean, like I said, so then if that's the case, and a lot of the stuff that I thought they were trying to pull off as jokes weren't supposed to be jokes, then that just confuses me even more. Because it's not just the one-liners, it's the physical comedy, it's the body language, it's that scene of him in his underwear. Like, I knew that was supposed to be funny, but I found more of the humor in that whole thing having to do with the other characters and not really him. I'm just okay, they got John Cena in his underwear. Okay.
I think you're absolutely right. I don't think you're supposed to be laughing at him. You're supposed to be laughing at their reactions to him. I think he's supposed to be an off-putting character. The news that I have for you is he's not going to be in the next movie. He's getting his own HBO Max series.
I'm not going to be bothered.
Written by James Gunn. I think it'll be interesting to see a character with his skill set come out of this film and see if he's changed at all. I'm all for it. I'm looking forward to that show. Devin, what were your thoughts on Peacemaker?
No, I liked his character. So I don't know Peacemaker outside of this, right? I couldn't tell you whose bad guy he was. I don't know where his place in the DC. I just kind of watched the movie for what he was and the way that he introduced himself. I was like, oh, he's like an analogy for America and like the like overzealous freedom, especially his line of like, I love liberty and I'll kill any man, woman, or child to get it. And I'm like, we say that in America. So I like loved that, and that like not endeared me to the character, but made me like what they did with it, especially at the end with his character, a lot, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so...
Go ahead, Ryan.
Sorry. Okay, well, one of the things that I was thinking throughout the movie was that there was another actor that I was, like... As the movie was going on and they were building up the character, there was one actor that kept on coming into my mind. I'm like, man, I really wish this guy was played by him. And I can't remember his name at the moment, but he was the one in Magic Mike and in the Jump Street movies.
Channing Tatum.
That one.
Yeah, him. He was someone that I was thinking, like, man, I really wish this was played by him and not John Cena.
I think the little bit that I enjoyed out of his performance was because it was John Cena. I don't think you could have somebody be as deadpan with some of those lines in the delivery and be as unlikable as John Cena was. Like, Channing Tatum's great and all, but I don't see him. Like, what's the last Channing Tatum movie at all? Like, he's been gone.
Channing
for a while.
Tatum stepped back for a little bit on his own volition.
That's right, because
but-
he was going through a divorce.
Yes, he stepped back on his own volition, but the stuff that I've seen him do, I feel that he can do the stuff that John Cena was doing.
I haven't
And
seen anything that he's
yeah.
done, really.
I think he's
seen,
too likable.
I haven't seen 21 Jump Street. I haven't seen Magic Mike, surprisingly.
I'm going to have to add one. I'm going to have to add one of the 2 Jump Street movies to our list because it really doesn't matter which one you see. It doesn't.
No, they're good movies.
Yeah, they both
Just
are.
know,
So
just
I
know
think
if you
gotta.
add 2, I'm watching the first one first. So
That's fine. Just please don't go through the hassle of watching the show.
oh no,
Oh, ooh, too much.
that's like watching Charlie's Angels before watching Charlie's Angels with Drew Barrymore and Cameron Diaz. Like watching that whole show from the 70s. I'm not.
Yeah,
doing
not
that.
worth it.
No, not worth it. Devin, did you have any issues with any characters?
I mean, I liked all of the characters. I think that, they all kind of fit. They were all basically fit for purpose. Like, they were all really great, and they all kind of had their own bit of character development by the end of it, which I really liked. I think the only possible issue that I had was with Peter Capaldi, because once they bring in Peter Capaldi, and once he gets into Jotunheim with Peter Capaldi, it basically says, okay, we're going to stop your DC movie. We have an episode of Doctor Who to show you. And then it jumps into what is just an episode of Doctor Who for a bit, and then he gets ripped in half. And I'm like, all right, fine.
I was going to say that definitely felt like British sci-fi for a while there.
Oh,
Definitely
100%. And even that like reveal where like Capaldi was like, you think that this country was the ones? It was actually this country, like America.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's a Doctor Who plot. That's got it. The big powerful bad guy is the bad guy. Great, thanks, the Doctor.
I was just waiting for him to be like, "Be kind," before he gets ripped in half.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Okay. So, talking about the monster.
We're jumping ahead a bit.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We can wheel it back, and I'll hold it.
I mentioned Capaldi, so I get it.
Yeah.
I'll hold it.
So stepping back another second, Devin, would you watch the Peacemaker show?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I mean, so I asked you on when we streamed, was John Cena as good in this as he was in Trainwreck? And you responded that he's about as good.
Yeah.
Which like led me to believe that he was a little bit worse in this. I loved him in it. I really did. I don't have the opposite as Ryan. Like, I'm not like, he's my favorite. I just think that he did really well with what he was given. And whether you're supposed to like that or not is like, a whole other thing. And I it's totally fine that Ryan doesn't like it. Like, I like the job he did.
Okay.
And
go ahead.
And that's fine. And I'm okay with me being the only person watching this movie that has a problem with John Cena. Like, it's just the way that I took it's just the way that I took the character. And if somebody does think that he's their favorite person in this whole thing, great, more power to you. Go buy a shirt, go buy a weird horseshoe hat and wear it around, and I'll tell you're wearing a nice hat. That's totally fine.
So, before I forget, when you get a chance, Ryan, I need you to go onto John Cena's Instagram and look at some of the images that he shared promoting the Suicide Squad, because it is fantastic what they did. They erased him from his character, and it's just his costume floating there, so you can't see John Cena.
I appreciate, that I like. I am totally fine with him because, I mean, in every interview I've seen so far in the past 48 hours about this, he seems like a really cool guy. He seems like a really nice guy. He has a really good sense of humor. And
they
it's
just didn't show in that character.
Yeah. And they didn't use any of it for the character. And I guess that's what I'm disappointed in, because I'm seeing him cracking these jokes and being himself, and I'm like, they could have made that shine through maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
For
me,
so maybe that's where my problem is.
For me, the only characters whose story I really had an issue with, and it's very minor at that, is Rick Flag. Like, he matures a bit from the first film where he's the reluctant leader. Here, he's still kind of the reluctant leader, but they don't really give him anywhere to go with it. Like he's just kind of treading water, I feel, throughout the whole film. But there is one moment where they show his relationship with Harley at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Their friendship, and I was like, okay, like that's worth it. And when he ultimately dies, I did feel a little bit, but not as much as I would if they had actually given him an actual story in this.
So is this the same character? Is this the same character as Suicide Squad? Like,
yes,
Rick Flag literally stops, like, the bad guy from that one a month down the line. That same group of people and him go on this mission.
I wouldn't say it's a month. I'd say it's several years have passed.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it is the same character. As far as I know, the DC multiverse is not getting into the point where we have Suicide Squad in one universe and then the Suicide Squad in another with the same actors. I don't think we've gotten to that point yet.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows?
This could be a sequel.
I consider it a sequel to the Suicide Squad.
Okay.
Like, I would.
Okay.
I don't think it's I don't think it's necessary that you have to watch the first one, but it's definitely a sequel. It still takes place in the same universe, as far as I know. It still takes place in the DCEU.
Well, yeah, and you're right.
As it
basically
stands right now.
And like when was it Michael Rooker's character joins, he's like, "Oh, this is the Suicide Squad. I get it." And like they're already established and they're already around.
I mean, everyone in the prison knows about Waller's program, and so they're all aware of what's going on there. So,
yeah, because that was going to be one of my like actual questions to you, Alan, about like, was this a remake? Was this a sequel? Was this a reboot? Because I was confused.
It's a sequel. That's how I looked at it. I look at it as a sequel. I mean, I saw somebody list it as a remake. I'm like, it's not a remake because you have different plot points. There's no big beam of light going into the sky. I think for it to be a remake, you have to tell the same story and keep most of the same characters. This tells a completely different story.
Yeah,
especially when you look at the Harley Quinn stuff.
So while we're talking about that, actually, with the big beam of light, this brought up something I thought about while I was watching the movie, and I want to know if I'm weird for having thought this. I think in every DC thing that I've watched, whenever the superheroes, the bad guys, Suicide Squad, whatever, are doing their thing, they're never mixing with just normal people in normal situations. They're basically kind of bouncing off their own DC characters and only them. And I found it really weird when the gang, like, so in Suicide Squad original, the gang went to a bar and bonded at a bar. They were the only people in the bar. Harley Quinn was pouring shots, whatever. In this one, they go to a bar and it's filled with people and they're singing and dancing. And a bartender gives them their stuff. And they're just patrons at a bar. They're not the best thing in the bar. They're just people there. Or like Harley Quinn, like just like very brief period, just dates a guy. Like, and he's just a guy. He's not like a supervillain. I mean, I guess he's in charge of a country.
I was going to say, he's kind of the acting president of a country.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but I mean, also, like, he's just, like, he's not, like, also a superhero. He's not, like, a Joker look-alike. Like, compared to her ex, I guess, he's a relatively normal dude. And, like, I thought that was really cool to see these characters just interact with, like, non-superheroes and just, like, the Suicide Squad blended in with a crowd with the exception of the shark.
Well, I just want to correct something
that
you said. They were the best thing in that bar, or at least there was one individual in that group that was the best person in that bar, and that's the Rat. Now that I'm thinking about it, he is my favorite character in this movie, is that Rat.
Yeah.
Is her pet rat. I absolutely loved him. I want a pet rat now. I want a pet rat so I can teach it the wave.
Pet rats are adorable. I love rats.
Okay. There's so many places I can go from here. Let's talk about Ratcatcher, since you brought up the rat. Let's talk about Ratcatcher too. What did you think of her relationship with the rest of the squad? Because I really like the I liked Bloodsport as the reluctant father. Like the way they establish his I'm going to talk about Bloodsport before we get into Ratcatcher here for a second. I like how they pretty much set him up as the Will Smith stand-in for this film, where in the first Suicide Squad, Deadshot was doing all of this for his daughter so that she could have a better life. And then in this film, you find out Bloodsport has a daughter. And then he's just like, I don't want to be your father. Like, I don't want to have any part of this. Like, I'm just stuck with you. I like that they set up that dynamic thing. He's a reluctant father. And then when he's on the mission with Ratcatcher, he gets to see, like, they have like this father-daughter dynamic throughout the film. And I really enjoyed that storyline for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
What did you guys think of that?
I mean, I like it. I've seen a lot of the whole like father-daughter, like reluctant father dynamic lately, especially with like Bad Batch and stuff like that. But I feel like this fit the plot more. Like it felt like an actual point of growth for both characters. I mean, even third character, like it even tied in daughter's growth too. So like I feel like that payoff happened for 3 people, and it was more than just like, oh, I'm stuck with this kid. And it like actually made more sense than most other things I've seen it in.
Tying this into the Bad Batch, the voice of the Rat is done by D. Bradley Baker, who is also the Bad Batch.
Weird. Didn't know that.
So, I mean, I agree with Devin on that one. Like, it didn't feel forced. It felt fluid with the story, especially with them on the bus and that whole scene.
Yeah.
It fit, and at that point in the film, I cared about her character, I cared about his character, and I really enjoyed that back and forth and the growth that they both had immediately after they were done talking.
No, I completely, and you're right. Like it naturally kind of just fit the story, and didn't feel like they needed to shoehorn it in because someone's got a dad story they want to tell or something. But my favorite relationship, if we're talking about Ratcatcher 2, is with her and the shark. I like that. I like the whole the shark is gonna eat her, and then she's like, no, like I want to make a friend here, and if I get like upset because I chose love, then that's my bad. And I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a great dynamic. And I think at the end of the film, you really find out where she got that from, and it's from her father. Like, hi, I'm Ratcatcher. Don't mind me. Like, Taika Waititi's in this movie, guys. I completely forgot that he was in it.
I loved it.
Ryan, you look confused. Taika Waititi plays Korg in the Avengers and Thor Ragnarok.
No, I know.
Okay.
Oh,
I know.
Okay.
I'm not as big on him as you guys are. That's why I'm just like letting you two have your fan moment, and I'm just sitting here. And I'm just sitting here.
Okay.
Jojo Rabbit turned me around. I mean,
he had one line in this, and it's like it's a good line. Like it's maybe not the best line I've heard this year, but it's a solid line about the rats having purpose.
Yeah.
Than we all do. All right, let's talk about King Shark a bit before we dive into Harley Quinn. What did you guys think of Stallone as King Shark?
You want to go, Ryan?
That was Stallone?
That was Stallone's voice, yes. Yeah. He didn't
oh
do
my
the
god, a
motion
character
capture.
that actually fits him. I'm sorry, but so for people out there, I don't hate Stallone. It's just I saw a joke about him when I was a teenager where in the show Futurama where they make a joke about Fry buying his skeleton and they go over to Stallone's skeleton and it's a Neanderthal skeleton. So ever since then, that's been my line of joke for Stallone. So just, there's that. But I like the character. He got a bit tedious towards the end, I have to admit. But the fact that he got attacked by suction cup little finger monsters definitely made me like him a bit more.
Devin, how about you?
Oh, I mean, I thought he was great. I thought he was like the Groot stand-in, basically, that like I feel like James Gunn wanted to have around. Like he did a little bit more talking than Groot, but like functioned almost the same. I think I liked it.
Hand.
I mean, his are the quotes that I remember the most, or when they were they were scoping the place. I was like, "Bird." I'm like, "Yeah, bird. You nailed it, man."
Yeah, he is the Groot stand-in. My question for you guys is Groot or King Shark? Not Baby Groot. Groot from Guardians 1 or King Shark? Who would you
Oh,
want to see
Groot from
again?
Guardians 1. Groot.
I think if the question is like, who do I want to see in a fun comedy? It's gonna be King Shark. It's the question is like, who do I want to be my literal tree parent? It's gonna be Groot.
My answer is I want since DC and Marvel can work together and share James Gunn, I want them to work together and share those characters. I want a road trip movie with King Shark and Groot.
Oh no!
My favorite part of King Shark though was the fact that they were able to show emotion on him.
Mm-hmm.
Because the moments in this movie that tugged at me the most were the moments where you could tell he was lonely, like when he was in the bus hiding under the blanket and he was by himself.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh man, that sucks. Like I was like, oh, like he's lonely. You can see it in his black eyes.
Yeah.
You can see it in...
So this question was brought to me by a friend of the show, Josh, and I wanted to ask you guys too. One of the motifs that runs throughout this film is birds.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the birds have any specific meaning or symbolize anything in particular, or do you think they're just something that plays throughout this film? Because the film opens up on a bird being killed. The president has birds. You have King Shark pointing out birds. When Harley does her whole thing that we're going to dive into after this, and probably a little bit with this question, there's a bunch of birds. Do you think they mean anything in particular to this film, or?
I think James Gunn is trying to get the point across that the government replaced all of the birds with drones back in the 80s. And this is his way of getting that message out.
And if you don't believe exactly that, you're an idiot.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
I've been waiting for months to get that joke into the show. I've been waiting.
Oh, I'm so happy you did.
Okay. But I mean, I didn't really notice any type of like theme other than it being a running joke. I do have to say that I don't know why, but I've become like over the past couple weeks, I've become really, I guess, caring about animals a lot more than I used to for some reason. I don't know. And when they burned the birds, like that actually got me upset. Like I was like, oh man, I don't want to hear that. Like I don't want to hear the screeching. I don't want to. Like, why are you burning the birds? If there is some type of secret messaging in there, I didn't see it. I just thought it was a running joke or something.
Shit, I wasn't ready for this question. I was too worried about the birds not being real. Yeah, man, it has to be something because like Michael Rooker kills the bird, and then like when he dies, like that almost that same bird, like
a goldfinch.
Yeah, a goldfinch. Like
yeah.
See, the
there's
way
gotta be something there.
I looked at it at like my answer to Josh was let me double check that I said this right. We talked about a lot of other stuff before this. I looked at them as like an omen for death. So you have the one like the one that Michael Rooker kills, and then like I think they're just a sign of maybe not death, but like darkness, because you have the Michael Rooker thing. You have the president who has all of his birds. Like there's this moment of beauty when he's on that date with Harley and all of these birds, and she's infatuated with them. But then once he's out of the picture, the general burns them all. So it shows like his intentions are even more corrupt. That like he's not even hiding the fact that he wants to kill. The president was like, yeah, I'm putting on this facade because I look at all my birds. I want my bird. Like it's Iron Man 2 all over again. And then the general's like, no, I'm just going to burn these birds. And then like you can see how corrupt he is. But then with Harley, like when you see all the birds like explode out of her, they're so animated and cartoonish that it's like joyful. So there's like two different types of birds in this. Does that make sense? I'm just kind of talking this through.
That has to be my favorite scene of the whole movie anyway, where the flowers and birds are coming out everywhere with her going down the hallway with the javelin. But we'll get back to that. But the bird thing, I didn't think about that before because I did see the cartoon birds, and I thought that was interesting. There's got to be something. There's got to be something to it. I'm kind of hoping it's a government drone joke, but you never know.
I mean, I'm like grasping at straws for it meaning freedom. I really need. I'm terrible at picking up on symbols on the first watch.
Oh,
so like,
I didn't think about it as freedom. Freedom.
So I mean, what if it is? So Michael Roker literally kills his freedom seconds before he agrees to Waller. So he stops freedom. Freedom's nagging at him or was so close or something, and that's why they see him in his body. That shark guy just. I mean, this should shark when he's bird. Like, has a glimpse of freedom because he's, like, out and about now.
That's him telling the audience, like, pay attention to the birds.
Yeah, right. He could be. And then, like, Harley Quinn escapes, and those are her birds.
I really like that. Okay, so let's look at the president's birds for a second. Like, he's presenting freedom to his people, but at the same time having these evil intentions of sending everyone to the Jotunheim. And then the general was like, you know what? No freedom, and just burns them all.
Burn them all down.
I like that. That's if it wasn't for the Harley like exploding with all the bird, like just yelling at all the birds, like yes, that is freedom. Like I don't know why that didn't come to my mind ahead of time, but I really like that read on it. So I'm glad we.
I want to watch it again with that read because I want to see if that holds up to it.
I do too.
Watch though. Better watch it a third time.
Yep, probably will. Okay, so let's talk about Harley's escape scene. Or just Harley in the castle at all, like her whole storyline there. I absolutely love I enjoyed the whole date sequence that we got. Like that was a lot of fun. But the moment she shot him in the chest, my jaw dropped. I was like, "Oh wow!" And then she goes into this beautiful monologue. That is just like last time I promised myself the next time I saw a red flag, I would kill him. And that's where he won me with a Harley Quinn character. Like everything up to that point was Harley Quinn. But story-wise, where that character is in this film and where that character is in pop culture at this point with the Harley Quinn show and I think a little bit in the comics too, though I can't speak to that. That's what that character is now. Like independent, doesn't need a man, like just standing up for herself. And I really enjoyed that whole monologue.
I mean, I think that was my favorite character moment.
Yeah.
That's Harley Quinn. Do it. Yes, please.
Yeah. Because it shows her it shows her craziness and like still her saneness because she is a little bit still sane.
Yeah.
Because my favorite part of that whole thing, though, is at the end of it, she's like, there was a bullet in this thing? I guess it's this like antique revolver.
I also liked her plot with the spear a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was my favorite joke of the first act was I don't know what he wanted me to use it for. He said he would tell me, but then he died. Like, come on, tell me what's it for? That whole escape scene though, like I like that they featured Margot Robbie doing gymnastics more in this because she learned how to do all that stuff for the first Suicide Squad. Then they cut it all. So her escape with the she actually did that with the key and the lock with her feet. Like that was all her.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for her.
And the other thing is they did a really good job editing that whole sequence because they don't really, there are cuts in it, but they don't really cut away so that you don't see that it's not her. But because I think it's mostly her. And I really enjoyed that in an action sequence. Marvel will cut away a lot so you don't see that it's a stunt double.
Yeah.
But I really like that they had her shine in that moment as Harley and didn't really cut away as much. Like the cuts that are there they serve a purpose. Like they're not just cutting away to cut away.
I think one of my favorite parts of that escape scene was like them being like, "Oh, well, you escaped. We had a plan. It was a really good one." And then she goes, "Well, I can go back up, and you can still do it."
That
It,
yes,
I love it. Well written. Like,
And-
good job.
I feel like to me that adds into the Harley Flag relationship, friendship, because to me one of my biggest issues with the fact of Flag dying. I mean, granted, it's the Suicide Squad, so it's going to happen. You're not going to have these type of things flourish. Flag is such a good guy that if they were to pursue that type of a storyline with Harley, it would work. I think it would be okay. But of course, that's not going to happen. So I mean, that's
No,
that,
and
that's out
I
the window
like,
now.
I don't think you're talking like a romantic relationship.
Almost. I mean,
Okay.
she can go off the rails at any point. They proved that with the president.
Yeah, I like that they have a respectable friendship. I didn't really read into that as romantic at all.
Well, it's just the way that it was the. I don't know if it. I don't know enough about Flag's character because even though they did develop him in the first one a little bit, they didn't develop him really enough so that the looks of appreciation that he was giving her to me was like 50-50. Okay, is that a look of friendship or appreciation or is that a look of, oh my God, I really like her?
the
Like,
way-
I couldn't tell.
The way I read it was he's brought in with his whole squad. They're the only two that survive. So I think it's more like they've worked on other missions together. I think it was more like I need to, like, if she's alive, I need to go get her because I'm responsible for her. That's how I read it. But to each their own. So
Yeah.
Yes,
all right.
And I think it's a problem with not developing Flag in the first and second movies,
Yeah.
really.
Well, in the first
Yeah.
one, he's just like, "Oh no, I love Enchantress, but we have to save her without killing her because I'm in love with the human side of her." And it's like, yeah.
I mean, I can understand why that would be compelling. I think the part that where the movie failed, and this is my biggest problem in this for a second, is that Will Smith was the one that took the last shot at Enchantress, and it should have freaking been Flag because it's a character development moment, not, hey,
Yeah.
we got Will Smith in this movie. Done.
Yeah.
Done. That's it.
Okay, so we've shied away from Polka Dot Man as long as we could. I really enjoyed his character in this, which I did not expect. I thought he was just gonna be played for laughs, but he has a little bit of heart to him. Like they make you feel bad for Polka Dot Man, which I was not expecting. But then they go right for the laughs, and I'm like, this is probably my favorite joke in the whole my favorite running gag in the whole thing, because it follows the rule of threes, and they give you 3 times of it, and that's it, and it's perfectly done. And that is Polka Dot Man's mom.
Yup.
But I think it has to do with the actor.
Yes.
Nailed it for
Yeah.
me with him. And what I've said before about there's been a lot of jokes on my side of Facebook that I'm on a lot. And there's a lot of people that are saying that when it comes to the whole superhero genre, Polka Dot Man is now the superhero for everybody who's into emo music. Because I mean, there's a lot of people saying that how if you were to look at any character in any superhero movie, he's the one that in high school was listening to who was listening to My Chemical Romance.
Yeah, fair.
So
I liked his arc though, and I like that he is my only problem. I think I like his arc. I like that he got his superhero moment. I like that he got that acknowledgement before he died. I don't like that his contribution at the end didn't mean much before he because basically he shoots a bunch of polka dots at the leg.
Sorry,
Yeah. It tumbles a little bit, right? And then he's like, I'm a superhero, and then dies. And ultimately, his contribution didn't matter much unless you're saying that his whole point was to line up the star with the Margot Robbie or Harley Quinn's path. Then sure, I guess he did, but it wasn't as significant as I think I would have wanted it for his superhero moment.
it also stopped all of the, I'm just going to call them star zombies. It stopped all of the star zombies.
Oh, did
because
it?
they were all feeling its pain. Because when it screamed, they
Oh.
screamed.
Fair. Okay, I missed that. Side note, you asked where I wanted Jared Leto in this. I wanted him as a star zombie. And that's it.
Okay.
There it was.
Okay.
Since we're there, Alan, what's yours?
For Jared Leto in this?
Yeah, for like a 5-second little blip.
I want him on the first team and just dying right away.
Okay.
Fair.
For some reason, for me, I think it would be funny when Margot Robbie dives into when Harley Quinn dives into the star.
Mm-hmm.
He's in there for some weird reason. He's just in there, and the path of the javelin goes right through his head.
And there's like no explanation. Like he
There's
just is
no
there.
explanation. He's just in there, just floating. Just floating.
Good.
I almost feel bad making fun of his Joker as much as we are. I think his Joker would have been fine with Ben Affleck's Batman, because we saw a little bit of that in the Snyder
Agreed.
Cut.
Yeah.
I think the problem with his Joker was we didn't get that. We got him and Harley Quinn, and that's such a... And we barely even got that in the movie. That we saw, at least. But yeah.
And I think you're right. I think with a different cut of the movie, we would respect it more. I liked him in the Snyder Cut. I really did. But what we're given with him in the Suicide Squad universe, I don't love.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway.
All right,
Yeah.
so let's talk about before we wrap this up, because we're way over time, but I figured we would be. What did you guys think of the final battle with Starro, and Starro as the big bad of this film?
So with James Gunn, right? I got the first name right. Okay.
Yes.
With him being as big of a music guy as he is, I am really upset at the fact that they had John Cena make a butthole reference to the starfish thing, and then
Not a
having a
Limp
giant
Bizkit
starfish.
reference.
No Limp Bizkit reference in this. No song. No nothing. You've got a giant starfish tearing up a city, and you don't play a Limp Bizkit song at
But
some
isn't-
point if
isn't
somebody's
that-
listening to a Limp Bizkit song or something?
But isn't that also a butthole reference too, just like in and of itself?
Because of their one album.
Yeah, chocolate
Hot
starfish.
dog flavored water and chocolate. Yeah,
that's-
chocolate starfish. That's a reference to that.
That's a
Okay.
butt. Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up Limp Bizkit. Have you guys seen Fred Durst lately?
Yes,
No.
it's great. The
Devin,
memes
look
are
him up.
hysterical.
Look him up. You need to look
Okay.
this up right now.
I'm doing
Yes.
it. Hold on.
What was he playing at? Lollapalooza? Is that where the picture?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So he looks completely different than he did back in the 2000s.
He looks like he should be driving like a wood-paneled station wagon.
No,
The
this is
first
what he
article,
looks
like-
like. Yeah,
no, go ahead.
The old man Fred Durst.
Yeah.
Like, what he looks like is back on Christmas Eve, he killed Santa Claus, and he's still not accepting the fact that he put on the suit and now he's Santa Claus and has to go deliver presents in December.
Yeah, I didn't. That's funny, but I didn't get that at all when I saw him. I was
He
like,
looks like
oh, look,
he's
Fred
still
Durst
shaving
is
the
turning
beard
into.
and like just yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like the way I would envision, because of how old Fred Durst is, I would envision that's what his dad looked like in his late 40s, early 50s. Like, that's what I think Fred Durst's dad would have looked like at that point. But I love the memes that are coming out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah, the article I have here is Fred Durst's new dad rock look is a massive hit. A shame about his music, though.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Thanks, article.
Yeah. Speaking of dad rock, I might be going to see Weezer on Friday.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Nice. Hang on. Is that part of that huge tour that's going on?
Obligatory. It's
That's
Weezer,
gonna be really
Green
cool.
Day, and Fall Out Boy.
That's going to be a good one.
I'm jealous.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Fall Out Boy is only going to be using guitars for about half their set.
Yeah.
At some point along the line, Fall Out Boy just stopped using guitars.
Weird.
But now they're using samples from like every theme song ever.
Yeah, I know.
Like, all their songs are
which-
just samples now. It's weird. Anyway, Starro.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of Starro as a big bad? Were you familiar with Starro from comics or animated series or anything?
Never heard of him.
No idea.
Did you
no
know him?
idea.
I did. I saw an episode of something with him in it, or he plays a part in one of the movies. I can't remember which, but I knew about the whole mind control and zombie type thing. I actually have somewhere. I have a Starro sleep mask, which I'm probably gonna have to dig out now because of this movie.
It's really cool.
Oh no!
I
Now there's
love
people.
that.
Oh my god! There's going to be people with CPAP machines with Starro masks to fall asleep with.
I mean, Starro.
They make alien ones, so
I
I mean,
want
why
it.
not?
Yeah, I mean, they probably also made Bane ones too. So,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool.
If I ever need CPAP, I want to get the one that looks like a face hugger, because that they make a cover that looks like a face hugger's on your face when you're sleeping.
Ryan,
that would be cool.
I mean this with all respect. You would.
I would, and if it ever happens, that's what I'm getting for it.
I really like the. Oh my god, we got a freaking kaiju.
Yeah, really.
I
I wasn't ready for how gross beating him was going to be. Which, like, I mean, it makes sense. That's the only way that you do it. Like, you jump into his eye, but Margot Robbie swimming in eye goo was not something I was ready for.
but it was such a beautifully done shot in Aigu,
Right. Really.
Mm-hmm.
and
then all the rats.
and all the rats
Oh.
swimming.
Oh,
Do you have a problem with that many rats?
I have a problem with eyes and just stuff and like I couldn't help but like put myself into like Starro's place and be like, oh,
See,
wow.
I used to have an eye problem with movies. Like if there was like an eye injury or something, I couldn't do it. I've gotten away from that now, so it doesn't bother me as much as it used to. But here's the thing: Starro,
Yes.
Starro, wouldn't have felt anything of any of that until the rats started getting into the nerve.
I mean, fair, gross, but fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's. You got to remember, he's so big compared to like the point of the javelin, and then the rats themselves. Like, it's such a big eye
Mm-hmm.
that it didn't really bother me as much. Like, it didn't really give me flashbacks to when I had my eye issue a few months ago. But now it is, since we're talking about it. But I don't like. I really liked how they all came together and Bloodsport was able to like take the lead of the team. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Polka Dot Man, it's your mom, and then like Harley, get up there and go stab it with the javelin, and then King Shark, fishes noms like.
Yeah.
Num num.
So, how did you guys then? Because this happened in this. How did you guys like the title cards for each of the chapters?
Oh yeah, I forgot about those. I
I
enjoyed them.
appreciated it.
Yeah, I did too. You guys
I
liked
really-
it?
I really liked how they played with it too. Like sometimes it was like it wasn't just like cut to black with the title card. It was transitioning from subtitles to title card, or the title card would change with the smoke and the flames, and I really like how they played with that. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing that more.
It did.
Especially in this style, because
Yeah.
it's more comic booky. Mm-hmm. And that's what I liked about it.
And it did something that the music did a lot too, to the point where it almost actually bothered me with the music, and I did want to bring that up. But they had mixed diegesis with the title cards. Like sometimes they were very obviously for us, like the whole like Suicide Squad versus Starro. Like they didn't see that. But when they had the title card for Jotunheim, that was just like looking at a stack of trash the right way. That could have been in universe. Like, you know, nothing's to stop or to say that it really wasn't. What did get me a little bit, and usually I like this, is mixed diegesis with music. I like the idea that what starts out as a rockin' soundtrack to whatever scene's going on is just someone listening to it on the radio a few feet away. But this movie almost did it too much. Like almost every time it wasn't score, it ended up being mixed diegesis where someone was listening to it somewhere. And I'm like, just let cool music happen. You're allowed to. And I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know why that bothered me.
I definitely thought it was weird that like that that a country for a stand-in for Cuba was having very modern American music playing on the radio when supposedly half the country hated America. Like, I thought that was weird at some of the points. Like, the dude's clearly listening to an American top 40 radio station. How far away are they? How far away are they from the American coastline?
Right.
All right. Anything else Suicide Squad related that we want to touch on before we wrap this up?
I'm good.
No, I think I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, I liked it.
Now, the next film on James Gunn's slate is Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Right.
But the news has, like, Warner Brothers has said and James Gunn has said that this isn't the last time we'll see him work with DC. What do you want to see James Gunn do in the DCEU? Like the next DC film from James Gunn, what would you like to see? Is it another Suicide Squad? Is it the Justice League? Is it Booster Gold? What would you want to see from James Gunn?
I feel that any movie that one thing I just thought of this. One thing that I do want to see from DC, regardless if it's with James Gunn or not, is I'm fine with the Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman movies being what they are and what they have been. I'm fine with that. But for all of the like secondary DC films, like the Suicide Squad films, I want them to be these rated R movies.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And as many as and if this is the style that James Gunn feels like they should be done in, then can DC just say, "Hey, James Gunn, you're going to be in charge of all of the like side character DC movies for the next 15 years. Have fun." And then he's like producer on everything.
Do you have a one that you want, Alan?
I'd be interested in seeing him tackle the Justice League. Like do Justice League again, but make it the Justice League. Make it ambiguous if it's going to follow the Snyder cut or the theatrical cut. Bring that team back together. Add the new people. Bring in Green Lantern. Bring in Shazam. And tell a story where you have to have these heroes come together and fight a big bad. I don't know who it would be at this point, but do that story. Like, if you want to fix the Justice League and build out the DCEU with a Justice League, do it with him. Like, have him do it. Maybe not make it R, because I don't see how an R-rated Superman would work. It works.
Yeah,
it works in the Snyder cut, but it's not really Superman that's R in that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I think you can have that dynamic with. I think the dynamic of the Justice League already being established and founded. I think you bringing them back together. I think James Gunn would do a good job of that.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm having a hard time getting past James Gunn hitting his stride in like quirky ensemble movies. Because really that's what I see him doing, like quirky ensemble movies. So like I don't know these characters off the top of my head, but I feel like I just looked up a list. I feel like he would be good if they brought in something like Space Cabbie as a movie, who is a real DC character, or the Inferior Five. Like, I feel like those two groups of people specifically have the same factor of that I've approached every James Gunn superhero movie with, going, I don't want this movie. Who wants this movie? I don't want this movie. And then watching it and going, okay, I wanted the movie.
Okay, I just had a thought since you're talking about ensemble team movies. The Bat Family. If you're going to continue the DCEU and Ben Affleck is out as Batman, if you want to continue those stories, have Damian Wayne, Barbara Gordon. I think they've already established Dick Grayson is dead in this universe, but Alfred, like, bring in all of the Red Robin, the Red Hood, bring in all of those characters, bring them together for a story that deals with the death of Bruce Wayne and what Gotham is like in that.
I can see that working too, because I think that it doesn't need the same like over dark tone that I think sometimes Batman's associated with if you're going to tell that story. Yeah, it's interesting. I can see that.
Also,
Sounds fun.
I need to look something up quick. But Devin,
What-
next week is your pick.
Okay, good. So next week is my pick, and the way that I'm doing my picks is they're all going to tie in with whatever game that I'm playing, right? So I have been playing for the last 4 weeks now. I've been playing Fortnite. I'm just about to get Rick. I'm like level freaking 90. I'm 10 levels away. It's going to happen, guys. But this one ties into the theme of this season for Fortnite. So the season for Fortnite is Alien Invasion. This is going to be an Alien movie. Now, I couldn't decide between 3 Alien movies, and I need you guys to help me pick. You guys get to pick either a classic Alien movie, a Disney Alien movie, or a modern Alien movie. And you have to tell me which one.
What's the year for modern?
Modern is, I think it's 2019, 2020. Oh. Yeah, it's like Independence Day 90s modern.
Okay, I was hoping it was going to be Mars Attacks.
Wait, hold on. Has one of you not seen Mars Attacks?
I have not seen Mars Attacks.
Mars Attacks is my pick. I thought we all saw Mars Attacks.
No.
I'm so happy about
Forget my
this.
question. Mars Attacks is my movie.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I've never seen Mars Attacks.
Okay, good.
I've held off because of the show. I'm
good.
So
We're
pumped.
watching Mars. I assumed we all watched it. It's Mars Attacks. Good. You were all gonna hate any of my choices anyway.
Well, now I need to know what the other choices were.
Disney movie was Chicken Little.
Seen it.
Modern movie was Men in Black International. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I watched it. It's fine. And then the classic one was Plan 9 from Outer Space.
I've seen that one.
I've seen that one too. Cinematic gold.
It's actually. Oh, it is cinematic gold.
It is. It's
especially for the
genuinely
time
good.
it was made in.
Yeah.
It is generally good.
And I like Ed Wood. Yeah, but no. It's Mars Attacks. That's it.
That's good. We can save the other one for later.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm excited for that because that brings us into keeps it in the DC universe with Tim Burton and Jack Nicholson reuniting.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So what I was looking up was I was doing the math in my head earlier, and I thought we were getting 4 DC movies in the DCEU or like live action movies next year, but we're only getting 3 live action ones. But there are 4 DC movies coming out next year. Anyone want to take a stab at which movies are coming out?
I have no idea.
Hold on, we're gonna get
No idea.
We're gonna get Black Adam.
Yes, that's one.
We're gonna get. That's the only one I'm excited about. What other DC movies are there? We're not gonna get another Wonder Woman movie or another Superman. We're gonna get the Flash. We're gonna get the Flash.
Oh wait, there are 5. I'm sorry, I missed.
Did you forget about the Flash?
No, I was scrolling too much. I didn't realize that Aquaman 2 is also coming out next year.
Oh, okay.
Aquaman 2, The Flash. Okay, so this is what it is. It's Batman in March.
Oh, right.
DC's League of Super Pets on May 20th. Which stars Dwayne Johnson as Crypto the Super Dog.
Wait, is he in? He's in Black Adam too, isn't it?
He's Black Adam, which comes out July 29th. The
Good
Flash
for
comes
him.
out in November. And then Aquaman 2 comes out December 16th, 2022. I feel like they're going to push Aquaman back. That's a really short gap between movies there.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Unless they don't think it's a good movie.
We're going to get as many DC movies next year as we are Marvel, which is crazy to me. We're to that
weird.
point.
I think we're going to get saturated with superhero movies soon. I think it's going to get to be a bit much.
We're already there. We just did the Suicide Squad this week, and then I got the trailer for Doom Patrol Season 3 today, too.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah, eventually it'll be too much, I think.
yeah. All right. Well, we're not to that point yet, but when we get there, you will know. If you hit that follow button and follow us here on Twitch, if you're watching us on Facebook, hit that like button so you can see when we go live again. You can also listen to our podcast on all major podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and pretty much anywhere you can think of. You can subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, where we post all of our videos of our live streams and hopefully some other stuff in the near future. We also have some other things in the works, so stay tuned for that. Until next week, where we watch Mars Attacks. because I've never seen it.
Can't
For
wait.
you have to watch this podcast, I'm Alan.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Devin.
And R.I.P. Milton.
Love the Milton gag.
I was really hoping one of you would be like, wait, who's Milton?